Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Got kind of a crazy story out of Georgia sent to me by several people. And this I'm going to tell you about is directly from a press release issued by the Office of the Inspector General in Georgia. Former agency external communications director indicted for allegedly faking multiple pregnancies. Faking multiple pregnancies. The woman's the former director of external affairs for the Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation Agency, or the GVRA. She's been indicted by a Fulton County grand jury. As director of external affairs, she supervised the marketing and media communications for the GVRA. And in October of 2020, she informed her Human Resources Division that she was pregnant, and then she eventually announced that she had given birth in May of 2021. Oh, happy day. GVRA leadership later received an email from the father of the child and stating that the woman had been mandated several weeks of rest following the delivery. It was a tough fake delivery of a fake child following a fake pregnancy. As a result, GVRA approved 7 weeks of paid leave. It says approximately 7 weeks of paid leave that it otherwise would not have approved but for these circumstances. So the investigation by the OIG revealed that in March 2021, a coworker observed the lower portion of this woman's stomach coming away from her body and believed that she was wearing a fake pregnant stomach, a prosthetic pregnant-looking thing. In addition, she allegedly sent pictures of her new baby to various GVRA employees. However, the pictures appeared to be inconsistent and depicted children with varying skin tones, suggesting they weren't even the same child. The kid's really good at that. He's like a chameleon. He can look one way. He's got a bunch of different looks. And in the world of fashion, that's a big deal. Now, the same woman had previously reported the birth of a child in July of 2020. So she appears to be just constantly fake pregnant. It's tough on the body. She claimed she was again pregnant in August of 2021. She's the woman who cried pregnant, I guess. OIG learned that the State Office of Vital Records did not possess any birth certificate listing this woman as a mother, and a review of medical and insurance records found no indication that she'd ever delivered a child. She resigned in October of 2021, shortly after an interview with the OIG investigators. Now, this story has been picked up and widely reported, and one of the versions of the story I did read is in the New York Post. And they said that when they first asked her about this, is there anything you want to tell us? Some people are starting to doubt these stories. We doubt the existence of these children after these pregnancies. And somewhere along the line, she actually said, no, and I can, you want to talk to the father? They gave this name for the father, Bran Oat Membebwe. It's a fine name. It's a fine name, and there might be someone out there named that. But it just seems strange she didn't just say, his name is Joe Smith. Mike Johnson. Bran Oat Membebwe. So apparently they couldn't find anybody by that name who said, yes, I am the father of her children, that no one can find. Now here's the quote from the State Inspector General. All state employees, and especially those that communicate with the media and general public, on behalf of their agency, should be held to the highest standards of integrity and honesty. OIG will continue to hold state employees accountable if they choose to deceive their superiors and receive undeserved compensation. Because that, of course, is the problem. When she's taking this time off, she's getting paid for it. And she's being paid for it presumably because she's either recovering from a pregnancy or because of the fact that she's about to give birth. So on February 10th, 2022, she was indicted by a Fulton County grand jury of 4 felony counts, 3 counts of false statements, and 1 count of identity fraud. Members of the public are reminded that the indictment is just the charges, doesn't mean she's guilty of anything. The defendant is presumed innocent of the charges, and it will be the state's burden to prove the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt at trial, if in fact this goes to trial. The Georgia Office of the Attorney General is prosecuting the case. OIG appreciates the assistance provided by GVRA during the investigation, which demonstrates a commitment to a state government free from fraud. For further information, you can visit the Office of the State Inspector General, which is, of course, at oig.ga.gov. Figure it out. Office of Inspector General, Georgia. Type that in, you'll get it. Type in fake pregnancy, and you'll get this press release like I did. And this is one of those cases where you said, Steve, what do you think the odds are of this going to trial? Could this case go to trial? I would be shocked if it went to trial. And the reason is that everyone knows how simple this is. It's what I like to refer to as a binary proposition, meaning that it's either yes or no, it's either on or off, it's either, it's a situation where you only have two choices, okay? Either she was pregnant or she wasn't. Either she gave birth or she didn't. And those things would be so easy to prove affirmatively that obviously if you got indicted by a grand jury and they said, we believe you lied 3 times or 4 times or whatever the indictments are regarding these 2 pregnancies you had because we don't think you were ever pregnant, and you told people you gave birth, we don't think those children exist. This is the easiest thing to prove if it's true. You trot the kids out and go, here they are, meet my kids. Here's the birth certificates. Look at the birth certificates. Here's some medical records for my kids. Now, I know you're going to say, Steve, HIPAA. Well, if it's you going to prison or you revealing your children's medical records to prove that they exist, I think most people would say, something, I'm good with that. So, birth records are the kinds of things that if a child is real, they've got them and they can produce them. And if you can't produce these records, well, then what's the story going to be? I gave birth out in the woods in another country and didn't want to get it recorded there. So I smuggled them back into the country somehow and was planning on getting birth certificates here, but didn't get around to it. I mean, what's your excuse for having kids that have no records and cannot be seen by anybody? You can't show them to anybody. Nobody can walk in and say, okay, let's see the kids. Okay? And so it's such an easy thing to prove that taking this to trial, if the facts are true as the prosecution suspects they are, would be insanity, which leads you to another possible defense, believe it or not. And I'm not saying that that's what she's going to do in this case. I'm saying in a hypothetical. So in other words, I'm giving you a story problem unrelated to this case, but simply to make a point. Let's suppose that there was somebody somewhere in a government job. Let's say it's not Georgia. Let's say it's another state, a non-Georgia state. And somebody has a job and they take time off to give birth and they say they gave birth and they do that twice and then they get caught because they never gave birth and they got no kids. They're put on trial. You can see where somebody might say she's got issues that caused her to say this for some reason that are above and beyond simply trying to bilk the system out of some money. Okay? I'm just saying that is a possibility. And I've heard people raising those kinds of defenses on things this small. It's not always a homicide case when people claim to have issues mentally that played into the story. So, if you wanted to defend this case on its facts, what you would do right now is you'd call the prosecutor and say, can we cut a deal? Unless you can trot out 2 kids and go, here are my kids. What are you guys talking about? But everyone knows if you go to trial and you sit there and you're silent, as you're allowed to be under the Fifth Amendment, you sit there like a bump on a log, as they say, and you don't say a thing, and the jury's sitting there going, where are the kids? Why doesn't somebody just bring those kids out and show them to us? And if you don't produce the kids, I suspect you're going to lose that case. So that's my thought on this, but we'll see. You never know. Bran Atmembebwe might show up and say, I have the kids with me. Should I bring them to the courtroom, Your Honor? Yes, Mr. Atmembebwe, bring them in. We'd like to meet them. So as of right now, the indictment stands. There's going to be a trial or some other resolution. When that happens, I'll let you know. But co-workers were tipped off when they thought they saw the baby bump moving around in a way that was inappropriate for an authentic baby bump. So former agency external communications director indicted for allegedly faking multiple pregnancies. And that story is from the Office of the Inspector General in Georgia, directly from a press release, and a couple factoids from the New York Post. George, Jim, and Kevin all sent it. Thanks a lot, guys. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. There's only one corner of the universe you can be certain of improving, and that's your own self.